Welcome to Session 6, Fundraising and Resource Development. What is fundraising? Fundraising is the raising of assets and resources from various sources for the support of an organization or specific project. Remember, one of the key roles of the board of directors is to ensure necessary resources for their organization. What do we mean when we ensure necessary resources? It means to hire a capable executive leadership, promote positive public image, ensure the presence of capable and responsible board, and ensure adequate financial resources. When it comes to fundraising, the board has several responsibilities, including defining or clarifying the mission, the why of the organization, supporting organization sustainability, identifying strong leadership, approving adequate budgets, planning for the future of the organization, and being familiar with the overall fundraising plan, and finally, participating in the fundraising process. What does this look like in action? You must clearly define your annual fundraising goals and delegate the responsibilities to meet those goals. Create fundraising and donor recognition policies and ensure fundraising methods adhere to ethical standards. That means checking in from time to time if you're going according to your fundraising plan. Individual board members have several responsibilities when it comes to participating in fundraising activities. The first and foremost is to make a personal contribution. When you make a personal contribution to your organization, you're saying that you believe in it. Identify and evaluate and cultivate prospects. Your relationships are incredibly valuable to the organization you represent. You can attend face-to-face solicitations with your organization staff. This helps bring a volunteer support to a prospective donor. Help write appeal letters. When prospective donors see that the appeal is coming from a volunteer, it has a lot more meaning than if it's coming from staff. Help organize and attend special events. When you help organize and attend special events, you're saying publicly that you support this organization and you're asking others to help support it as well. And finally, help thank donors. Making sure that donors know that their gift is appreciated and doing great work in the community is an essential role for board members. Why should board members give to the organization? Isn't their time enough? But when board members give, they're demonstrating a personal commitment to the organization and they're encouraging other funders to give. Many funders look to see at the board giving participation rate before deciding on granting organizations funding. Finally, it creates board member ownership. You have a stake in the game. When thinking about fundraising, it's important to understand why people give to nonprofits. There's a variety of different reasons, and each reason will change the way that you ask. Um, First, they feel a personal connection to the organization. Maybe they volunteered at some point, maybe they used the services at some point, but most people give to places they feel connected to. Second, their peers are giving. They see their peer group giving and they want to be supportive too. The third reason is someone asked them to. Some of people don't give because they were just simply never asked. Some donors want to make a difference in their community. Some are fortunate and want to share that good fortune with people they care about. Some donors give for recognition. Um, a lot of times, corporate organizations will give to support to fulfill their social responsibility as an organization and need recognition for that. Some give to ensure the organization's ability to fulfill its mission in the future. Some give for tax reasons, and to ensure that their project finds a home. There's many other reasons why people give to nonprofit. This list is not extensive, but it covers a lot of people. There are three distinct stages of fundraising. The first is cultivation. In this stage, you want to identify potential donors, build relationships with those prospects, generate interest in the organization, and show prospects what the organization is all about, its histories, its programs, its finances. How board members can get involved in cultivation include making a personal connection with prospects. Maybe you set up a meeting with someone in your friend circle that you think would be interested in supporting your organization. Show prospects the facilities. Share the history of the organization and share their enthusiasm for the mission of the organization. It's important to remember that when you're sharing your enthusiasm, all you're asking people to do is join something that you're feeling passionate about. And sometimes that's all it takes. Step two is solicitation. Um, and during this phase, you present the organization's case statement, its reason for being alive, and why people should um, support it. Participate in one on one solicitation, sending direct mail pieces with personalized notes, and making telephone solicitations. Board members can get involved in this stage by reviewing or writing the case statement for the organization, making the ask, and attending face to face solicitations with staff. The final stage of fundraising is stewardship. Once someone has donated to an organization, it's important to thank those donors and let them know how their gift made a difference. Um, During stewardship, we want to really focus on maintaining donor relationships, writing timely thank you letters, participating in donor recognition activities, inviting donors to special events held by the organization, and giving donors regular updates from the organization about how their gift made a difference. Board members can get involved in stewardship by sending letters of appreciations and invites to special events, helping maintain relationships with donors, personally thanking donors for their contributions, and again sharing their enthusiasm for the mission of the organization. One of the scariest things about fundraising is facing rejection. Rejection is a natural part of fundraising, and fear of it stops a lot of potential fundraisers in their tracks. Some things to remember when this happens is to not take it personally and keep the door open. You never know when a donor might be open to receiving your message, and offer additional information needed to change the prospect's mind. It's important to remember that you're not just asking for money, you're asking for support for something you believe in. People believe in different causes, so a no is not a no to you, but possibly a yes to something else. To succeed in fundraising, you must know four things: the mission of the organization, the goals of the organization, how to ask, and how to overcome fears. Once these four elements are strong, you're ready to start fundraising on behalf of your organization. Don't forget, if you don't ask, you won't receive, and the only way to fail is by not trying. Your job is simply to ask, not to make a person say yes. Now let's hear from our experts, Angelina Perez and Jen. Hello, welcome to session six or four, fundraising and resource development. I am Jen Ahrens. I'm the CEO of United Way of North Central Iowa, and I have here.
I am Angie Perez, and I am the marketing and campaign director for United Way of North Central Iowa.
Angie, why don't you tell us a little bit about the fundraising experience that you've had as a nonprofit employee?
Sure. So, as a nonprofit employee, I have managed planning fundraising events before in the past, and fundraising campaigns for other nonprofits that I've worked for really for about 8+ years now. So, and that's about it, really. Just being out there trying to plan events in the community and get funds raised.
And I have about 2 years of experience fundraising. I did not get a degree in fundraising. I don't think that there's any fundraisers out there that have, but it's more of a process of learning as you go. And that's part of my role as CEO of United Way, is to ensure that our campaign is strong, and because it really does a lot of good work in the community. And so between the two of us, we have 10 years of fundraising experience. And so hopefully we will count as experts for this section. So we're going to just kind of talk about some questions that about fundraising and the role board members have when they fundraise. So the first one is, how can a board member help if they have no fundraising experience or are apprehensive about fundraising?
That's a really good one. Board members, I think, need to know first and foremost that donating to the organization that they volunteer for is probably the one easiest way to fundraise, obviously. If the goal of fundraising is to raise money, then opening up your checkbook and writing a check is probably the easiest form. There's all kinds of other ways too. They can engage with creating a potential donor list for the organization to approach. They can actually accompany staff on these calls or visits when staff attends meetings with potential donors. Having a board member there is very powerful. Board members can also write thank you notes and thank you letters to donors, recognizing.
Yeah, I think when that apprehensive piece is what I see most often with board members, and they think that they're going to have to ask every family member and friend for, huge gifts to the organization they represent, and I think that that's not the best way to approach fundraising. Fundraising in its essence is really just asking other people to support something that you feel passionate about, that you want to see change in your community, and asking for their help in accomplishing that. It's not so much about the dollar amount. And I think when you approach it from that way and realize that your job is simply to make the ask and not to get the other person to say yes, but just to simply say, this is something that I really believe in, would you help support it, gets rid of some of that apprehension. And, when you think about fundraising as a board member, you don't have to do everything that we just listed out. You can do one thing. You can do two things. And when you think about the limitations that staff have, because Angie's just one person and I'm just one person, if we can amplify that across the board, we've just touched a lot more people and a lot more prospective donors. If you just add one or two people that you might ask to a special event, or sell a ticket to, or just tell about our organization or the organization you're volunteering with, that's a huge piece of being a board member and fundraising.
Definitely.
So just kind of following along with that, what are some ways that boards can help with resource development?
Well, resource development, it would be, again, coming up with potential donor lists is something that's really important. And like you said, by adding our board, we're adding that many more people and their network of people. So it expands the potential contact list for an organization. So I think that's key in ways that a board can help with resource development. I think a board member attending an event and representing the organization, for example, chamber events, just having the employee there of the organization sometimes is expected, but when you have a board member attend these events, it really builds that community kind of involvement. And so that's something that's easy for a board member to do, and it's actually fun and it's networking. And so I think that develops the relationship out in the community for the organization. And then being part of the fundraising process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think getting them to create the goals for fundraising and getting them to be actually part of the process and how, in the planning of how we're going to obtain these goals, is something that really helps build develop and build the resources.
And I think another important part is to think a little bit outside of the box. So a lot of nonprofits are really, I would say most nonprofits are stretched to the
Yeah.
gills on their resources and really getting a dollar out of a dime. But if you as a representative of your organization can sponsor an event or provide a service as an in-kind donation, so maybe you run a printer company, you can help offset costs by helping cost printing of direct mailing, or say you are you create videos, helping create a campaign video or a social media spot for an organization. If you have marketing skills, donating those to expand their fundraising efforts. It doesn't always have to be about dollars and checks. Sometimes it's what can help. Fundraising at its core is helping an organization meet its mission.
Right.
Money, resources, they all equal programming, they all equal people helped. And that's really the end goal. Why do you think boards should be concerned with fundraising?
Well, that's, other than the obvious, right? In today's climate, just straight donations to nonprofits struggle. And so fundraising is a key component to the financial stability of a nonprofit organization, I think. And so because fundraising is such a central part of when you think about finances, you've got to keep that in mind, for the health and stability of the organization. So I think it's important to keep that as part of your equation, and board members are responsible for the financial well-being of a nonprofit. So because you have that concern, if you don't gain financial resources, your organization won't be able to serve its mission and help the people that it's designed to help. So
yep, it's definitely part of the duty that you have to the organization. As a board member, you're not there to just come to a meeting once a month. You're there to make sure that the organization is on track, it's doing what it needs to do, and it has the resources it needs to do what it needs to do.
Definitely.
So this is kind of on the other side. How do you think nonprofits can support board members when it comes to fundraising?
So I think engagement comes to mind. For example, nonprofits should engage their board members and encourage them to serve on committees. Again, be part of the planning process like we talked about, strategic planning, financial planning. I think making a board member feel included in the process is a key component. That way they feel like the work that they're doing is actually serving a purpose beyond just, like you said, showing up for a meeting once a month.
And I think one thing nonprofits can really do is to provide some fundraising training to their board members. And so what does it mean to make an ask? Maybe it's the nonprofit leader taking them to a client meeting. Maybe it's tour of facilities. I think really training your board on not only how to fundraise, but also helping them find their avenue that works best for the board member. Different kinds of fundraising approaches they need different strengths. And so someone on your board might be really good at making those large asks. Maybe they're just really comfortable with it. Somebody on your board might be really great at planning events. Some might be good at selling tickets. Some might write beautiful thank you letters. And really not doing a one size fits all type of approach to your board members when it comes to fundraising, I think is a really big key to success. Just tapping into the strengths that your board members already have and using those strengths to strengthen your organization is probably the best way to go about supporting board members. It doesn't do anybody any good to say, all right, everybody go get $100 from your 10 best friends, and not everybody's going to be comfortable with that, and you're going to lose board members.
Yeah, definitely finding the strengths and putting those to work for where they're comfortable.
So we're almost done with this interview. I just want to end with, what do you think are some of the key takeaways that any board member should have about fundraising and resource development? So if they watch this video, what are 2 things you want them to remember?
Well, I think the most important thing is to be engaged, right? You've signed up to be a board member for this organization. You believe in the mission. You believe in the work that they do. And so be engaged, beyond just showing up to the meetings once a month. Raise your hand and say, I would love to sell tickets, or I can write an ad for the paper for you, for the event, announcing the event. Serve on a fundraising committee, like sign up beyond just the board duties, like commit to helping for a committee that's involved with fundraising. And don't be afraid to make that ask. Again, like you said, all you're doing is asking. You're not, you're not bill collecting. And so you're not forcing people to open up their wallets. I mean, the worst that can happen is people say, I can't right now. And, or I'm not interested in supporting. And that's fine. I mean, getting a no is okay too. It's just pulling through with the ask.
Me and Angie hear no a lot, and we're still happy, mostly well-adjusted people. And so it doesn't hurt to hear no, especially because just because somebody isn't passionate about your organization, they might be giving somewhere else, and that's really the goal is philanthropy across the community and whatever that looks like. I think some of the key takeaways for any board members is to be really clear about what you're comfortable with and what you think your skill set can achieve for the organization. You were asked to be on a board because you have a certain set of skills, you have a passion for the organization. And so how are you going to use those skills and passion to make your organization stronger? If you're not comfortable asking people directly for funding, don't.
Right.
But if you find another avenue, such as thanking donors, making a phone call to a major giver just to say, hey, your gift just made a huge difference, and here's how. I'm a board member, and I can't thank you enough for your support. People love those phone calls.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, that goes a long way. I mean, they're encouraged to give again, and that's the idea, and a board member is a volunteer. So it's very different from getting a call from a staff member to say thank you, or even the CEO to say thank you. It's a lot more powerful coming from a volunteer, especially a board member.
And so there are many ways that you can help strengthen your organization through fundraising and resource development that fit what you're doing and fit your skill set. And all you need to do is step up and do it. And don't ever do anything you're not comfortable with doing. It makes for a bad ask. People can tell when you're not
comfortable,
not fully comfortable behind it, and can end up hurting the organization. So that's kind of what I would say as my big takeaway. But that's kind of all we've got for you. This is just kind of a bird's eye on fundraising, and we want to say thank you for taking our Bold Leadership series, and hope that you find the nonprofit passion that you're looking for.
Yep. Thanks for joining us.